We're about to go to the best place for game shopping in the entire world. It's day 2 in Japan and I'm going out to Akihabara. Now I enjoy a good drink and this one right here is Wilkinson. It is just a seltzer, just a plain seltzer. Akihabara is video game collecting at an extremely high level. Everything's more expensive than normal, but also you have video game stores that have like 7 floors. I'm picking up another drink before I head on the subway. It's called an Ion Water by Pocari Sweat. It's kind of like a Gatorade, but with like slightly less sugar. It might be a little bit confusing at first to use the subway, but just use Google Maps and you'll be a-okay. I find using public transportation in most major cities to be pretty easy. If you've done this somewhere, you can do it here. And I know it's Tokyo, but everybody's shoe game is always on point here. And we've arrived in Akihabara. This is actually my second time going here, period, and I'm super excited. So we've made it. We're going video game hunting in Japan. Specifically today, we are going to Akihabara. Now there are many different places in this world with wonderful retro video game stores, but there are few places that have multiple video game stores that are several stories high. You could spend a whole lot of time here and not see everything it has to offer. Today, I'm looking mostly for TurboGrafx-16 and PC Engine games. I'm also looking for some Wii U games. And to be completely honest, anything that I just think is even vaguely cool. Now, the name of this show is Flip and Dip, where we go to as many video game stores as possible on our road to seeing 100 video game stores. And once again, the name of this show is Flip and Dip.
Searching high, searching low, for the games that makes our spirits glow.
Adventure calls, excitement grows, in the stores where dreams flow. We hunt for games, day to night, our journey begins shining bright. Flip and dip, flip and dip, flip and dip, and flip and dip. Flip and dip, flip and dip, flip and dip.
Now the first place I'm going to is Book Off. It's actually a store that's all over Japan, and it's kind of like a Japanese Goodwill, but for like better stuff. Right off the bat, I'm checking out these Japanese N64 games. Now there are tons of Japanese exclusives that you don't really need to know Japanese to play. Now I'm looking for Japanese Wii U exclusives, and this is one of them. Now this Art Academy game came out in the UK and in Japan, so I'll be picking it up. This Bayonetta game is a variant, but I think I'm gonna leave it here. Puyo Puyo Tetris came out in the US for Switch, but I'll be picking this exclusive Wii U game up here. This is another exclusive Wii U Japanese game. I didn't know anything about it, but apparently it's a board game where you collect mascots from different provinces in Japan. This is a pretty good puzzle game for the PlayStation. It's only like 900 yen, which equates to about $5 US. I was gonna pick it up, but then I just left it here. Breath of the Wild is one of my favorite games. This is a variant cover because it's different than the US cover, but I'm gonna leave this here. We've got a Wonder Swan color sitting there for about $100, and then just some other Japanese only consoles. The Shin Megami Tensei games have become more and more popular because of Persona being so popular, but you can get them for pretty cheap here. This is about $10 US. But not every single game here is cheap. This Soul Hackers game, which is a part of the Shin Megami Tensei series, is sitting pretty at about $50. They also had an in-box Nintendo GameCube sitting there for about, $60. It was a good trip. I picked up 3 new Japanese Wii U games, baby. Now, not every single store I went to is safe for work. I didn't really figure that out until you go into some of them. This first floor is pretty PG. You can go around here. They sell CDs, DVDs, and games, but they really didn't have too many games here. It's time for me to go to a classic video game store, Trader 2. Now, the Xbox has never been extremely popular in Japan, so it's always interesting to see Xbox games, whether they're Xbox 360, or current gen Xbox games in Japan. They have imports here, but they're American imports. It's just interesting to me to see what games are deemed import worthy. I also find things like an SNK collection that doesn't have a Japanese physical version very interesting. Now this is one of those Japanese Akihabara stores that everybody seems to know about already. Super Potato. This store has several floors of retro gaming and an arcade on top. You can get in an elevator, but it's actually much easier and faster to go up these stairs. Just note that they are very narrow, so if you do need to pass somebody on the way up, just kind of watch where you're going. Now, right here on floor 3 is probably my favorite part of the store. Their junk pile. It's just filled with things that probably work, but might have cosmetic defects that cause people not to want them. So they're heavily discounted. And because of that reason, I'm picking up this Star Fox complete in box for like $11. This Wii U collection is looking pretty spicy and nice. Unfortunately, they don't have any exclusives or variants that I need. Lots of N64 games here, and a very expensive Daikatana, but it's expensive in the US PS2. Mainly because I don't know. It just was rare and not good. A lot of the games that they have tons and tons of copies of, they just have like one copy out, and you bring it to the front and then they'll give you a copy of it. A lot of the games that are far more expensive in the US are like much cheaper here because they're just immensely more popular. I recently saw this game in the States and I wondered what the price would be in Japan. It looks like my local place had it for a pretty decent price. This is a rare version of Punch-Out that was actually given out as a part of a contest. There's about 10,000 of these, so you will find them here and there. There's a lot of Nintendo on floor 3. Let's see what's going on floor 4. Starting off with the super rare Star Fox statue. I've only seen about 3 or 4 of these. I've been looking for some TurboGrafx-16 games, and they've got a whole bunch of rare ones in here, and they've got some hyper rare complete in box ones that are a couple $1,000 each. I'm actually super excited to see all these 3DO games. I know not too much about it outside of the US, but this actually right here is one of the best versions of Super Street Fighter 2 because of the soundtrack. They've also got some loose PC Engine games, and this is about my speed because I really don't know too much about the Japanese releases on this system. And they've got a ton of soundtracks too if you're into that sort of thing. I actually have the Mother 2 soundtrack on vinyl. Love it. This Japanese exclusive colorway of this Nintendo DS is beautiful, and it's actually pretty inexpensive. And this PS2 Slim makes me remember that I need to fix my PS2. It's wild to see this at like $250 because the American version is only like $20. I have the Japanese version of this game for Sega Saturn, and I should probably check out the comps on this. Pretty much any rare console you're going to be looking for, you'll be able to find here, which is always neat. It's just going to come at a premium price. I like to think of this as like a museum where you can buy some of the things there, but as usual, all the things that are on their not for sale shelf are the things that I want the most. Super Potato all comes at a premium price, but their selection is amazing, and just going here is definitely on the bucket list of anybody traveling to Akihabara. If you are a game collector, this is somewhere you would love to go. I picked up this copy of Wonder Project J mainly as just a piece of art. I'm a huge fan of Cowboy Bebop, and the person who did the cover of Wonder Project J also did all of Cowboy Bebop. Now this Dragon Ball Z game I know nothing about, but it was only 330 yen, which is roughly about $2 US, and whenever I see a Dragon Ball Z game, I just pick it up on the off chance that I can actually play it because it's a fighting game. I ended up picking up Star Fox for the Super Famicom, mainly because I already had the PAL version and the US version. Fun fact, this US version was actually my version from when I was a kid. It was a gift from my sister, so it just holds a special place in my heart. Hey, this is pro tip time. If you're like me and you drink tons and tons of water and sodas, you may need to go to the restroom at some point. Most of the arcades in Akihabara also have bathrooms, so if you are a little worried about where you can relieve yourself, be relieved in the fact that you can just go here. Since I'm in this arcade anyways, I think it'd be a good time to just win something fun for my kid. I think I'm going to spend a lot more time in life playing claw games because I'm really bad at them and I really want to be good at them. I want to be so good at them that maybe the next time I go to Japan, I'm so good at them that I just play claw games with some random YouTubers or something. Well, after that disappointment, it's time to get some Lawson's, baby. I've said it once, I'll say it again. These egg salad sandwiches are the best. And like Rick Ross, I want some Baus coffee. If you have any idea who this anime character is on the back, let me know. I'm really not a coffee person, but this is delicious. It's time to go into a very serious store. Mandarake. This store in general has everything nerdy that you could expect. I like that they have all these toys, not just like anime figurines. From a video game perspective, they're set up exactly like a library. If they have it, you can find it because it's so well organized. This is JJ and Jeff, I think. Now, if you're preparing to go to Japan, what I would suggest doing is learning the basics of the Japanese alphabet. I barely know it, and I don't know it well enough to actually help me navigate this at all. It's definitely not a must because, you know, looking around, you'll be able to find tons of games that you're into, but just a thought. Mandarake in general is a chain, and this might be the most popular one in Japan. I'm pretty certain that this one has about 8 floors, so you could just spend an hour or two just looking through this stuff. As much as I love Sega and Nintendo and, you know, PlayStation and Xbox, it's really cool to go into a store like this and be able to find all these different games from consoles that never ever hit the States. And it's also interesting to see laser discs. I mean, look at these. these guys. They've got a selection of Wii U games, but nothing I'm looking for, but it's still neat to see them. You can come in or go via these outdoor stairs, and it's about time that I get going. Great store, crazy selection. Well, that was a lot of walking around and I'm parched, so it's time for me to have a soda again. Now, I usually don't consume this much caffeine or drinks at this rate, but I just feel like I gotta try everything while I'm here. And since I've never tried a Pepsi refreshing shot, I'm gonna give this a try. It's like a smaller can of Pepsi, and I think it's kind of like a Pepsi energy drink.
Tastes like Pepsi Max.
It's time to go to my first hard off in Japan. Now, my favorite thing about a hard off is the basement. I'm getting these VHS because they look cool. The basement is usually where they keep the junk and the retro stuff. I love both of those things, so I'm looking around here. I'm fairly certain none of my audience cares about the 3DO, but I'm gonna keep talking about it. Just like I'm going to talk about this thing right here. This is kind of interesting and weird because it's kind of made to carry a Game Boy, even though it's kind of Super Game Boy branded. If this didn't come with the Game Boy, it might be cheaper, and I probably would have bought it for like maybe, $80. They have these GameCubes for about $200 a piece, and they have this Wii U sitting pretty for about $100. Now, since these are in Akihabara, they're going to be a little bit more expensive than elsewhere, so I'm going to leave them here. These Virtual Boy games are super crispy though, and that Panic Bomber is looking pretty nice. They also have a copy of Golf here. I think I already have Golf, or maybe at one point I had Golf, but I don't have it anymore. That Bomberman 4-player power tap is also pretty neat to look at. Just overall, this little curated area right here is just filled with really nice things. Unfortunately, the only Wii U game I can find is Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, so I'm gonna leave that here. But I also noticed this Super Mario Maker, which I didn't think about, but was yellow, which is a variant. I have the PAL version of this game, so I just think it'd be funny if I picked up the Japanese version. They also have this Fatal Frame Wii game that I didn't pick up a long time ago, so I'm picking up here. Look at all these Pokemon. This Spice Orange GameCube is double the price of the one I saw earlier. These N64 games are far cheaper than their American counterparts. And this is the first 3 Mega Man games for the Mega Drive. It's kind of rare. There are many book offs and hard offs all across Japan. It's totally worth going to. You should check it out. I didn't see myself picking up much VHS while I was in Japan, but these Stanley Kubrick classics are pretty dope. Now, I don't know too much about these. I think the one on the left is Fatal Fury, but they're both arcade CD-ROMs, and I'm going to try them out on the Analog Duo. I'm a big fan of the Virtual Boy, unironically, and yeah, I think this game's Panic Bomber, but it looked so crispy I had to pick it up. Speaking of panicking, the reason I bought this is because I panic bought the game on the right. When I was in Europe, I went to one video game store, and I couldn't find any exclusive, and I thought this might be one. It wasn't. I'm pretty certain that both of these games are the type of RPGs that there's no way I'm going to be able to play, but for only like $10 total, I'm going to pick both of these up because why not? This is a Fatal Frame game that didn't make its way stateside, so I thought I'd pick it up. I remember going into the original trader and thinking, you know what, I'll get an establishing shot after I walk around and look at the Wii U games. I did not do that, and I found that their Wii U selection was good, but was missing any games I needed. Hey, look at all this junk in the trunk. 2,000 yen for a Wii U, and that's about $16 US, or Biohazard Unveiled Edition, which is a variant. They've got a gold copy of Punch-Out, only for about $1,000. Well, I'm not gonna pick that up, but what I will pick up is this Onimusha for Xbox for about $1. They've got a copy of Final Fight Guy, and the price isn't really that bad. It's a great game, and it actually came out in the US. I wanna say that this is Tournament Fighters, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think this cover is super rad. Love the turtles. This is a fighting game that looks a lot like Paper Mario or maybe Parappa the Rappa. I didn't pick it up because I have the PAL version, but it's still a cool game. Now, this is an N64 game that I won't be able to play because it's mostly in Japanese, but I'm gonna pick it up because it's just pretty cool. This is a bass fishing game made by the guy who made Earthbound, and I was actually looking for this while I was in Japan. I'm picking it up. This game came out in Japan, but it did not come out in the US until GameCube. It looks pretty cool, but I know nothing about it, so I'm gonna leave it right here. This is Sin and Punishment, a great on-rail shooter. We've got a Neo Geo Pocket and a Neo Geo Pocket Color for a pretty good price, but I've already got one, so I'm gonna leave it here. I started running out of time in Akihabara, but what I will say is this. Of the 2 traders that I was able to go to, they were both great. If you can only go to one, go to Trader 1, but it was really nice to pick up things like this bass fishing game, which I also have the Super Nintendo version as well. This is a game I'm gonna look for the fan translation of. Wonder Project J seemed like a really cool game. Project J2 is the sequel, and I picked both of these up on this trip. It's time for another drink, and I think I'm gonna get a Suntory Sparkling. Just a Suntory Sparkling. It is lemon flavored, and let's just say this: Oishi desu. We've been to a book off, we've been to a hard off, now it's time to go to a hobby off hard off. I'm pretty certain that about 6 years ago, this is the exact hard off that I got my Game Boy Light at, so let's see if I get lucky again. To let you know of how much game prices have changed, I got my Game Boy Light for 50 bucks here. Every time I see a rare game, I'm really glad that compilations exist, because I'm glad I can play them on modern systems. In the US, this game is about $350 loose. You could pay for like 4 years of Duolingo and learn how to, read Japanese and play this game for that price. They've got a copy of Wind Waker here in this drawer for about 80 bucks US, and they've also got a copy of Twilight Princess chilling here for about the same price. I low-key think it's insane that these games haven't came out on the Switch yet. Now, if you see a cool looking game and you're not sure what it is, you can always use like Google Images to reverse look it up. I'm just gonna go by feel and gut check here and just pick up some random games based on whether or not I like the cover. Unfortunately, this one was a JRPG, so I bought it and I won't understand it. This is some sort of Sega Saturn fighting game for only about $8, so yeah, I'm gonna pick it up. Fun fact, the Panzer Dragoon Saga, which is the US version of this game, retails for about $560. I love a Game Boy Micro. My personal grail is the Mother 3 one, and some Japanese exclusive N64s. Beautiful. As always, my favorite thing to do is to go in the basement and check out that junk. A complete in-box Famicom for about $80, not bad, and sitting pretty on the shelf right next to it, a loose one. I just find it so pleasing how they organize these Famicom games. Seeing this Jerry Maguire on VHS makes me wish I would have found a Titanic on VHS while in Japan. I didn't, but check it out. A whole bunch of Xbox 360s for about $8 a piece. I was able to pick up a couple more PC Engine games, Galaga 88, and then this one. I kind of thought it was a Devilman game, but I think I was wrong. I also got this fighting game called Last Bronx. I've got a Japanese Sega Saturn, so honestly I was just looking for more games to play, period. I went to Japan when I was 16 to visit my brother there, and I don't remember much, but one of the things I do remember is picking up a lot of this sea drink right here. It's basically an energy drink that tastes a lot like Sweet Tarts, and so yeah, I enjoyed it a lot, and if you see it, you should try it if you're into that sort of thing. When I saw that GameCube earlier in the day, I thought, 60 bucks, I'll probably find another one for cheaper. But after shopping for a while, I realized that was an unusually low price. So I ran all the way back to the other side of Akihabara, only to be met with disappointment. It had already sold. It'd only been a couple of hours and it was gone. The time to buy is when you see something you want. I could have nickeled and dimed my way to maybe a better price, but I'm left without the thing I wanted in the first place. I got a lot of good things, and I'm gonna go to a whole bunch of other places while I'm in Japan. So I don't see it as a loss, I see it as a lesson learned.